Good afternoon. This is Mr. Bechtold, and today we are going to be discussing and doing a flipped lesson on how to calculate gross pay. What we need to do first is visit some knowledge that we already have and then some new knowledge. The first thing we're going to talk about is total hours. And we've already done that here in the last week or 2 weeks of school. Total hours is literally summing the total hours in a week. So as an example, if we would work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, if we added up 8 hours times plus 5 times, then we would get 40 hours. The next definition, this would be a brand new one for you, is rate of pay. And the definition of rate of pay is the amount of money workers are paid per hour, per week, and etc. In our case, we are going to be talking rate of pay as the amount of money that workers are paid per hour by their employer. How much is that? Well, that is determined by the employer, how much the employer deems that you're worth, with one exception, and that is in the United States, the minimum wage law requires that employers pay their employees $7.25 per hour. There's been a lot of talk in a number of states and or companies that have raised their minimum wage to $15 or something less than that. But currently, by law, it's $7.25. And then last but not least is something called gross pay. If we take a look here, gross pay is the amount of money that employees receive before any taxes or deductions are taken out. Maybe that's why they call it gross pay, because what you actually make and then what you actually take home is pretty gross. But anyway, nevertheless, what we do to get gross pay is we take the hours worked for that week, multiply it by the rate of pay. My example here, my gross pay was $290. I multiplied total hours, which were 40 hours that person worked that week, times the rate, which is the minimum wage, and they would have received $290 as their gross pay. That would be not that would not be what they would take home though. That's just their gross pay. In the upcoming days, we're going to learn how to calculate something called net pay. But currently, we are looking at how to calculate gross pay. Okay, so let's take a look at, after we've talked a little bit about how to calculate total hours and how to calculate rate of pay, and you'll kind of take a look here at this spreadsheet. Jimmy Smith, the rate of pay that his employer is giving him is $10 an hour. Kelly Beck, on the other hand, is making $7.25, while Johnny Bench is making $12.75 per hour, and Mark Sparks is making $10 per hour. If we take a look and follow the instructions, it says insert a column and 2 rows to make room for names and days of the week. Well, we've already added those in this example. It says format all numbers properly, which we have to 2 decimal places. Boldface names and days of the week. Format column widths where necessary, and we have done that. Notice we have even centered the names. Row 9, use a formula to solve the total. So right here in row 9 it says use a formula. And we know to use a formula, we start out with a plus, and we are just going to add the number of days. In this case, these employees work Monday through Saturday, and then we hit enter, and we get 34 hours. We can do the same thing here as we add Kelly Beck's total hours, and once again, this is a formula. There's a difference between a formula and a function I'm going to show you. We always start off with a plus, and then we start off with a plus again. Oops, sorry, wrong place. Plus. There, I've done that. Let me delete this since I don't need that. Good. So now we're down to row 10. It says use a function. We know a function is equal, sum, beginning parenthesis. And then we're just going to go ahead and highlight those cells that we want to sum and then hit enter. And you notice we get 34, which is exactly what we need. Then we come here and we are going to, once again, go equal, sum, beginning parenthesis. And we are going to highlight those in parenthesis. We're going to go equal, sum, highlight, and last but not least, equal, sum. And we know our formulas are right because the functions are average, no, I'm sorry, the functions are equaling what the formulas were for this. So it says let's go to column F. And in column F it says use a function to solve for the totals. So now we know that this is equal sum, beginning parenthesis. In this case, we are just going to go ahead and total those. Perfect. And then I think column G says use a formula. So we know a formula starts off with a plus. On column H, it says use a function. So we know a function is equal average, beginning parenthesis, and we're going to go ahead and add those. And then in this case, it says use a formula for column I, and for that, we're just going to go ahead and go plus. We got to do a parenthesis for the order of operations. That cell, that cell, that cell, that cell. We are going to end it with a parenthesis, and we're dividing it by 4. And we notice that it comes to 7.81. This comes to 7.91. So I'm going to let you kind of try to determine why that is off by, looks like about a tenth of a point. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, now, all right, here I'm back here. I've completed that. Actually, what I found here is when that came to 7.81 and this came to 7.9, I just went back in there and retyped equal average, and then it came out to 7.81. So somehow I must have spelled maybe average wrong or did something that was incorrect. So this is our completed spreadsheet. Now we've talked about gross pay, and I'm just going to go ahead and type in here gross pay. And we said that gross pay was hours worked, so it's total hours. Doesn't matter which one of these cells I use. I'm going to go ahead and use that first cell, and then we're going to multiply it. And that is the shift and the 8 key. It's got a little asterisk there, times rate of pay. So here B9 is the total hours worked, and B11 is the rate of pay. And then I hit enter, and we see that the Jimmy Smith should be paid $340 gross. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and we'll talk about that. If I'm going to use a dollar sign, I want to use the accounting. There's the currency, and it puts the dollar sign next to the number. And up here, I'm going to make it accounting to kind of stay consistent. So once again, I'm going to go plus, and then I'm going to take the hours worked, and I'm going to hit the shift key and then the 8 key, and then I'm going to do it by rate of pay, and this employee should be paid $248. Same thing here, plus my total hours times my rate of pay, and Johnny Bench should be paid $554.63. And last but not least, plus my hours worked times my rate of pay, and I should be $490. If you remember before, I can click on the Format Painter and then select those, and it will format those to the accounting dollar sign. I'm complete with this lesson. Once again, the only thing that really was new for you was what the rate of pay was, and once again, that is what the employer has agreed to pay you per hour, what they feel you are worth per hour, or they are able to pay, and vice versa. The gross pay then is taking that rate of pay and multiplying it by the number of hours that you worked that week, and the way I determine that is just to add up all the hours that I worked for the week, and when I get that total, that's called total hours. In fact, up here, I'm going to go ahead and click, and I can just type in hours. That way we can see that's total hours. Same thing here. I'm going to just click in total hours. The only difference between these two is this one happened to be a formula. This one happened to be a function. Same thing up here. This happened to be a function. I'm going to go ahead and type that right above. And this happened to be a formula. And if I wonder if that's a formula, I click on it and I can see B3, C3, D3, and E3 all being added. The average here was calculated by using a average function. And then this one was by using a formula. And in this formula, we actually used parentheses for the order of operations, as you can see here, to be able to add the 4 numbers than before I actually divide them. I hope this has helped. If you have any questions after watching this and taking notes, certainly send me an email and or come and see me. Have a great day.